Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Bearcat News with Denise Thomas. Today we have our top news stories and exclusive sports coverage. Duke Energy costs arise. Duke Energy of Ohio is asking state regulators for permission to collect an additional 71 cents a month from residential customers over the next 3 years to recover nearly $31 million in costs to restore power following the hurricane windstorm that occurred on September 14, 2008. The storm knocked out power from more than 800,000 electric customers in the greater Cincinnati and northern Kentucky area for up to a week, the largest failure in the history of Duke Energy's Midwest system. As a part of the $55 million electric distribution rate increase granted last year, Duke Energy asked for permission to set up a separate bill rider for the storm expenses. There was no word on when the commission would consider the storm cost rider. Scholarship money. The 14th annual Cincinnati Scholarship Competition will be held at the University of Cincinnati on February 5th and February 12th, culminating more than $18 million in scholarships offered to students, including 10 full Cincinnati awards of $20,000 per year. A total of 1,680 guests, including competitors and their parents, are expected to attend the competition. The on-campus event is expected to bring in 730 high-achieving students representing 34 states. Their average ACT score is 31.83, compared to the national average ACT score of only 21.1. The average ACT of the 2009 UC freshman class was 24.8. UC Financial Aid determined eligibility of high school seniors who applied to UC last fall, based on a minimum of 3.2 GPA in high school, with further eligibility by the academic program selected at UC, and awarded 2,000 in renewable scholarships. Scholars were further reviewed with the highest achieving students admitted to the university honors program and invited to compete on campus for awards ranging from $3,500 to full tuition, room, board, and book allowance. It's Black History Month. The celebration of Black History Month in February was originated in 1926 by historian Dr. Carter G. Woodson. February was chosen because it marks birthdays of two Americans who greatly influenced the social condition of African Americans: former President Abraham Lincoln and abolitionist and former slave Frederick Douglass. NBC News has partnered with thegriot.com, the first video-centric news community site devoted to providing African Americans with stories and perspectives that are underrepresented in existing national news outlets. Here are a list of unique African Americans: Serena Williams, the First Lady of Tennis; Barack Obama, the first African American U.S. President; Oprah Winfrey, the richest woman on the planet; Michelle Obama, first African American First Lady; Condoleezza Rice, first African American female Secretary of State; Mae Jemison, first African American woman in space; Halle Berry, first African American woman to win Best Actress and highest paid African American actress; Will Smith, highest paid actor. Now here's Deanna Nicole with the Bengals football update.
Thank you, Denise. If you haven't heard the news yet, the very unpredictable and extremely entertaining Chad Ochocinco is at it again. The Cincinnati Bengals star receiver, who always manages to make it in the limelight on and off the field, is going to do a little field work to bring you coverage of the Super Bowl. Yes, that is correct. Chad Ochocinco is finally realizing OCN, Ochocinco Network News, sponsored by Motorola. The social networking guru will be asking questions from the Colts and the Saints alongside players such as Redskins tight end Chris Cooley, Ravens Pro Bowl running back Ray Rice, and Cardinals Pro Bowl defensive lineman Darnell Dockett. This news team is very serious and excited about their little project, with already completing their first production meeting this past Monday. OCNN will be broadcasted through the news team Twitter pages, their Facebook page, OCNN. The Pro Bowl receiver launched his news network last October, planning to enlist other NFL players in breaking news. However, with the Bengals season in full swing, Chad had to maintain focus with his football team as they had a playoff berth against the Jets. At that time, as the season neared the end, I had to slow down a little bit on most of the social media stuff he said. Coach Marvin Lewis never said anything directly to me, but you understood that it wasn't the right time to be doing as much as I used to. So this is the perfect time to do what I'm doing right now, and I'm the perfect fit for it. Redskins' Chris Cooley has some thoughts about OCNN and Chad. To be honest, I don't really know Chad that well. He's so outgoing. He's such a prevalent figure in social networking. When Motorola asked me to do this, I was excited because I get to hang out with Chad for a week. The most interesting story covered by OCNN News Team is when Chad will be attending the Commissioner Question-Answer session. Chad has a long history of getting fined by the NFL with his entertaining celebrations and practical jokes. His thoughts on the Commissioner Q&A said, "When that time comes, I'll be prepared for him. Trust me, I have a lot of questions for him." Thank you for tuning in to Bearcat News with Denise Thomas. I'm Deanna Nicole reporting. Denise, back to you.
Thank you, Deanna. Cincinnati's first homicide victim of 2010, an innocent victim. Last week, investigators released video of what happened seconds after the first Cincinnati murder of the year. Charleston Ogletree was shot to death last week. It isn't like most Cincinnati murders. Homicide investigators say Ogletree was not involved in drugs or gangs. They call the recently laid off 30-year-old a truly innocent victim. He was using his own car as an unlicensed cab. With a bullet in his chest, security video showed Charleston Ogletree trying to drive away. He didn't get far. Eyewitnesses saw what happened seconds earlier. Detective Colin Vaughn of Cincinnati Homicide says Charleston pulled to the curb and a young African man got out of the passenger side and fired shots. What Detective Vaughn is trying to figure out is if it's a customer who didn't want to pay or a robbery gone bad. Now here's Josh Kramer with Bearcat basketball.
Thanks, Denise. This is Josh Kramer coming at you with your sports on Bearcat News with Denise Thomas. Many thought that this would be the year for the Bearcats' long-awaited return to March Madness, especially with the arrival of Super Frosh Lance the Dance Stevenson, and after the fantastic start the Cats had in Maui, defeating 2 top 25 opponents. Fans during the Bob Huggins era had become so accustomed to making the big dance that it was just a matter of where the Bearcats would get seated and not a question of whether they would make the tournament or not. Unfortunately for the Cats, the team has not been able to stamp a ticket back into the NCAA tourney since the forced departure of the legendary Coach Huggins. Ever since Maui, the Bearcats have been very helter-skelter and hard to predict. They currently sit at 14-7 with a 5-4 record in the rugged Big East. The team appears to be one of the last teams in the tourney field if the season ended today. They are definitely a bubble team, and there are still many question marks on whether they will make the big tournament. Every game is a big game in Big East basketball, and every opponent is solid. There is no such thing as a night off in the best basketball conference that the NCAA has to offer. Without question, this team's strong suit is their ability to hit the boards. UC has out-rebounded nearly every one of their opponents this year and is one of the country's elite on the glass. They also play very strong defense, led by their outstanding perimeter defender, Rashad Bishop. The big problem, though, for this team has been grinding out close games, with 4 of their 7 losses coming by 4 or less points. This stems from the team's inability at times to score on key possessions down the stretch and convert from the free throw line. The beautiful thing, though, for the Cats, even with 7 losses, they still have a good chance to make the NCAA field. The Big East offers up the opportunity for quality wins every night. If the Cats can turn on the Jets down the stretch, they should fly into March Madness for the first time since 2005. I'll tell you this much, this team is much more talented than their current 14-7 record and are a dangerous opponent for all comers. In the words of the UCPA announcer, here come the Cats. Thank you for tuning in to Sports with Bearcat News with Denise Thomas. I'm Josh Kramer. Back to you, Denise.
Thank you, Josh. Kuamka Week was a huge success. Kuji Fanza is an Afrocentric ceremony that recognizes African American students and their academic achievements for both fall and winter quarters. The ceremony occurs during Kuamka and Ushindi Week. It is designed to encourage students to obtain the highest levels of academic success. Throughout the week, some of the events were the United Black Student Association and the AACRC partnering to provide a forum to discuss the successes and struggles of the Black community. The Lambda Society and Collegiate 100 and AACRC discussed the roles of African American men and women, stereotypes, myths, do's, and don'ts. Well, that's all for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in to Bearcat News with Denise Thomas. We'll see you next week.